Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Darren Ganji, and today I'm here to do a long-awaited review. Well, I know a lot of you have been waiting a long time for this shifter to come out. The TH8A shifter by Thrustmaster. So I'm going to start just by unboxing. I've already got it unboxed. Actually, this piece comes in this sleeve, which then goes into this nicely printed, glossy outer shell. And I'm going to tell you what comes in the box first of all, and then go into the review. So first, top of the box, manual, which I've found to be very helpful actually. It's in a bunch of different languages. So there's that. First up, the sequential shift plate. Give you guys a shot of it there. And let's see what else we got here. This is the DIN plug that allows you to plug it directly into the TX or the T300 base. This is the USB port or plug. So you plug this into your TH8 shifter, TH8A shifter, and then that goes into your USB port. And I'll tell you about compatibility here in a minute. Now let's get the shifter. Here's a shift knob, which is interchangeable. You can go and get an aftermarket shift knob, which I've done, and I'll show you guys that. Little tool kit comes with a hex wrench and 2 extra hex screws. And those are extra. I don't think there's any particular need for them other than if, just in case you lose them, you'll have them. And the shifter, of course. As you can see, it's got just the short plug, which I think this is a DIN plug too. Correct me if I'm wrong, I apologize. Comes with the clamp already installed, which is detachable, so you can either hard mount it or use this very sturdy metal clamp if you want to hook it up that way, if you don't have a rig that's drilled for it, or you want to hook it up to a desk. Man, you can clamp this thing to anything. And that's it. So that's everything in the box. And so why don't I get to the review? Actually, why don't I put the shift knob on it? So again, detachable shift knob that you can interchange with lots of other shift knobs on the market. This, again, you can change it to a 8-speed shifter or sequential, so it's 7 forward gears and reverse. And it's really easy to do that, and I'm going to kind of show you here while I'm talking. But basically you just loosen these 4 screws, or actually you'll have to remove them to get the plate out. But I'm just going to show you how this thing is. You can basically mount it any direction in a 360 degree. It moves in 360 degrees, so you can mount it any direction you want. You know, so let's say that this mount doesn't, man, I'm just fumbling with that hex wrench. So let's say that mount doesn't line up with the way you want it. You can rotate the whole shifter to go anywhere you want. So let's say you even want to do it at an angle like that. You know, you could mount it there like that at an angle, and you still have your shifting exactly the way, you know, in the place that you want it. To get, might as well just do it all the way, show you guys how this works. To install the sequential, you got to loosen those 4 hex bolts or screws all the way. And then that sequential plate goes on a certain way. I've got to go a little looser here. And just in case you strip one of these, lose them, whatever, they give you 2 extras. This hex also allows you to detach the mounting clamp if you want to direct mount it, which I show you some images of it here, directly mounted to a piece for Frankenrig back there. So anyway, there's the interior of it. That's what it looks like. So basically what you do, and this has to go a certain way because there's a little button here that pushes, actually there's a little peg that pushes on a button that's located right there on the shifter. And the way that works, what that does is that tells it that it's in sequential mode. So you basically slide that in. You can only line it up one way. It fits the way it lines up on the base. It only allows you to put it one way. I'm not going to screw this all the way in so I can get to my review here, but really that's how quick you can change it to sequential mode. Just remove those 4 screws. And same thing, you can turn this any direction that you want, as you can see here. So if you need it at an angle, you can do that, whatever you want. And bam, you're in sequential mode. So, why don't we get to some specs here? Some things that I already talked about. It's got the realistic gear shift knob that's detachable, and you can go to your local auto parts store and find a replacement. Now, they say this is a standard threading, but the replacement I got, it was 20 bucks for a kit for pedals and the shift knob. And the shift knob basically had these little plastic inserts that then attached, it didn't actually screw in, but one of the attachments fit directly over this threading and works like a champ. So I'm sure you can find it's 13 centimeters tall, but I'm sure you can find knobs that would screw directly into that. Let's see what else. 2 shift plates, talked about those. 100% metal internal mechanism, 100% metal stick, and a metal clamping system. It's got the Hart or Hall Effect Accurate technology, and basically what that means is that it's contactless magnetic sensors inside the shifter, so there's no tack switches or potentiometers, so there's basically an unlimited product lifespan. So let's see, what else do we got here. Upgradable firmware and internal memory with gear shift travel adjustable to your preferences. So you have to get this piece of software at Thrustmaster's site. Small download. I think it was under 100 megs. I may be wrong, but anyway, I downloaded. I'll show you some footage of me using it here. But it actually allows you to adjust the travel or the throw of the gates. So if you want to shorten it to where basically as soon as you get inside the gate, it shifts gears, you can do that. Or you can make them longer if you want. So, and what that does is it'll save it to the firmware inside the shifter. And you know, you have to do that on a PC. You're not going to be able to do that on the console. And then you're going to be able to take that and hook it up to your console, and it's going to remember those particular settings or that particular shortness of throw. Another thing you can do too in that software is, but let's say you're not using a 7-speed shifter and you only want 5th gear here, and let's say you accidentally go into 7th, you can actually merge those 2 gates in that software. So if you accidentally go into 7th, it'll shift into 5th for you. Same down here, you can merge 4th and 6th. You can merge 3rd and 5th. So if let's say you just wanted a 4-speed shifter, you can actually merge those gates, or let's say you wanted to, whatever. There's just lots of different options for you to choose from. That software is really cool. I don't think we talked about it in the past, but in the manual, it talked about it, and I thought, you know what, let me check this out. And it allows you to calibrate it, make sure everything's working properly, and make those adjustments if you'd like. Next, there's an adjustable tension, and you take a flathead screwdriver, and you go in there, and if you look, I had to take a flashlight because it's not right up against this hole here. So I had to take a flashlight. Actually, I used my cell phone and use the light on the cell phone to look in there. And there's a flathead. You need a pretty beefy screwdriver. You know, obviously one that's not too big, so it's going to fit in that hole. And what I've found is that if you have it this way, it's actually, this is where you have to have it turned a certain way to get to that tension adjuster. I've noticed that if you just move the shifter a little bit in the neutral towards the taller gears, you have better access to that flathead screw tensioner. Turn it to the right, it tightens up the tension. Turn it to the left, it loosens up the tension. Mentioned the clamping system is 360 degrees, so you can turn it any way you want. And then an optimized mounting for any type of support. So you can use the table clamp, which can go pretty wide. Or take this off. There's 3 hex screws down in there. And it gives you M6 bolt mounting points to where you can then mount it to whatever you want. Drill some holes if it doesn't come. Some of the most recent rigs have those holes already drilled. So, and I've only had to use 2, as I'm showing you here. I've only had to use 2 M6 bolts to attach it, and it stays stable as can be. Let's talk about compatibility. Actually, let's talk about availability first. Shifter's going to be available by the end of August of 2014. It's going to retail for €149.99 or $149.99 US. Most likely that's not going to include shipping. I'd probably find it on Amazon, a few different e-tailers, but that's how you're going to get it. And now let's talk about compatibility. This is probably the most cross-compatible shifter on the market right now. You can run it on the PC, and you can either run it in sequential mode or 7+1 mode. Plug it directly into the USB port, or if you wanted to, if you have a TX base or the new T300 that's coming out, you can plug it into that base, but on the PC you can only use it as sequential mode plugged into the base, and then it basically takes over as your paddle shifters. So, or mimics your paddle shifters. Those buttons are identical, so you couldn't mount or map the paddles separately from the shifter. Another option on the PC is if you got 2 of these shifters, you could hook up one to the base in sequential mode and one via USB port in 7+1 manual mode. And if you wanted to rally or drift, you could use, one as your handbrake and one as your shifter. Next system, PS3. PS3 only compatible directly plugged into the USB port. And then you can use it as a 7+1 or sequential, and compatible with all Thrustmaster wheels. PS4, pretty much compatible the same way I mentioned on the PC. It doesn't state in the instructions, and by the way, I got all this information right out of the manual here. It doesn't state in the manual whether or not you can do multiple shifters, but you can go direct USB on the PS4, and as long as the programmers have written their code, developed for it, it'll work. Or you can plug it directly into the T300, or actually just the T300. That's going to be compatible on the PS4. T500 will be compatible on the PS4 as well, again, depending on the developers write for it. I know Project Cars is going to be compatible with the T500. That was just mentioned. The Crew has been shown being run with the T500. I don't know if that was on the PC or PS3 or not. But anyway, T500 will have compatibility on the PS4. In that case, you'd have to plug directly into the USB port. And then the final system, Xbox One. That system you can only plug, and you'll have to use this particular plug, the DIN plug, which will go into the back of the TX racing wheel base. That is the only way to run it on the Xbox One. You cannot plug it into the USB port. So that's pretty much it, except for I'm going to go over some pros and cons. I'm not going to do rev scale. We're not going to do that anymore because over time that number may change, and we'd rather have you guys make up your mind based on all the information that I give you on the pros and cons, what it looks like, how it mounts, all that stuff. So, starting first pro, the compatibility I just mentioned. PC, PS3, PS4, and Xbox One. Next pro, very easy to shift and locate gears. Gates are close, and you can go into sequential mode, which is even easier to shift because that is super short throw there. Ability to tweak the shift points via software. So you can shorten the throw that way. It actually doesn't totally shorten the throw because you're still, let me put this thing back on. Actually, I've got it backwards here. By the way, there is a certain way that this 8-gate goes on, because in a shifter in a real car, 3rd and 4th speed are always straight up from complete neutral. So if you're just in dead neutral and you shift straight up, that's third, and fourth will be straight down. So you can't mount the plate the other way. Otherwise, that would be up against fifth and sixth, and that wouldn't be proper. And it's really helpful too when you're, because you're shifting blind. No one really looks at the shifter when they're shifting gears. So it really helps you get used to the fact of knowing where you're at and where you have to shift. Especially the second to third shift, usually one of the toughest because you're going across the gate a little bit. And as long as you know that you're going straight up from that neutral point, it kind of makes it easier. So that's the next pro. Now I got this thing back together. I already mentioned it, 8 gears plus sequential option, that's another pro. Beefy clamp, man. This thing will pretty much clamp to anything and hold. So that's another pro. Very substantial clamp, and the ability to take that clamp off and bolt directly to anything with an M6 bolt. Next pro, 360 degrees of rotation. Actually, I haven't tightened it down all the way, so it's still turning. But you can basically turn this thing at any angle you want based on where you have it mounted. So if you needed to mount it at an angle, you can still turn the shifter to where it's, parallel to you and shifting properly. Next pro, this thing looks cool. And this thing looks like kind of an old school, actually not even old school, even newer school, Ferraris that didn't have paddle shifters kind of have this type of look. But it's a really cool looking shifter. Honestly, I've talked about my Camaro on this show many times. I wish my Camaro shifter looked this cool. Gotta admit, the GM stuff, they make a lot of plasticky stuff. And anyway, I'd rather have my shifter look like this. Next pro, very affordable. $149.99, compatible with all those different systems. That's a good buy. And the versatility that it offers for that price. And I've never had a problem with my TH8RS, which, by the way, this shifter replaces. I believe the TH8RS is no longer going to be on the market until certain places are sold out. But, man, if you're going to buy one, you might as well get this one since it's compatible with so many other things. And the last pro, plug and play. On the PC and on the other systems, you plug this thing in and it's recognized. On the Xbox One, I plugged it into the wheel, changed it to manual plus clutch, and actually you can even run just manual without the clutch if you don't have the T3PA pedals. And it works. I didn't have to calibrate it, do anything. I didn't even have to map it on the Xbox One. On the PC, you'd have to map it depending on the PC. Pretty much any PC title is going to have you map the gates and the gears. But it's plug and play. So that's going to lead me to the cons. And honestly, there's not many. I only really have one con, and it's the throw is a little long. I would have liked to have seen a little bit shorter throw. But then again, maybe they wouldn't have been able to make it a sequential as well. But honestly, that's a minor con to me because I get used to this thing very quickly, even transitioning from other shifters on the market. I really can't think of any other cons. Maybe that it has a little plastic here, but this plastic really has nothing to do with the build. 100% internal mechanism. It's got the unlimited life magnetic sensors. That should go as another pro. But I can't think of anything else. It even comes with a little hex head, different plate, the plugs. The cable was long enough on the USB side and on the DIMM, so that's usually about 6 feet. That's a 6-foot cable, plus add another foot, so you got about 7 feet off of the shifter. You don't have to buy any other parts to get this thing to work. Compatible with aftermarket shift knob, that's another pro. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. I would highly recommend this shifter if you're in the market for one. It's durable, looks cool, versatile. Especially if you're a console and a PC racer, so you can go back and forth, because now it's compatible with all next gen and even previous gen, at least one of them, the PS3. So I'd recommend it. That's going to wrap things up. If you'd like to come to our website, we'd really appreciate it. I got a link right here that you can click on if you're on your PC or if you're on your mobile or a tablet. Come to us at isrtv.com, visit us on our forums, come and discuss this shifter or anything else on the in the sim racing world, either on the console or the PC, software, hardware, you name it. Also, come visit us at Facebook. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We have daily news that's being posted, cross-posted on our website, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you want to keep up to date on what's going on in the sim racing world, we probably have it for you. We cover, like I said, all the software and all the hardware there is. So hopefully you've enjoyed this review. Hopefully you've got enough out of this. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I answer questions on YouTube. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. I'd really appreciate it. And like this video if you liked it. Just click that little thumbs up button for us. But ask me questions here on YouTube, and I check those daily and try to answer every single question. So love to hear from you. Anyway, I'm Darren Ganji for Inside Sim Racing. I'll see you guys next time.